Oh, yeah, everybody looking.
My second time here at I7, man. The first time I came here, I stayed for like 4 hours. Didn't record anything or anything like that, man. It's just the environment. You know what I mean? It was very homey, and I felt like time make it seem like all these goals are so attainable. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not so far fetched and things like that, man.
And he already has like things going for him, but he wants to put it in everyone else, and that's just like, yo, it make you smile because he's someone pure of heart, like 100%.
Basically, Tommy, he really took me under his wing. I mean, he warned me about like how, some people can be in the industry, and Tommy, he helped me understand like, oh, hey, this is what I have, and our goals just merged together, and now we're here at I7. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know he didn't know if I was a rapper. He didn't know he didn't know I was doing music. You know what I'm saying? And he just started over. Like once he saw me, I met him. He just started opening wisdom on me. You know what I'm saying? He just started sharing a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge on me and stuff like that. And on the business side as well too. You know what I'm saying? Helped me get a lot of stuff together on the business side that I wasn't aware of. So it's, man, he's definitely a blessing, man. I can't say enough about Tommy, bro. Can't say enough.
Hey, welcome to Legit Life Magazine. You know, I'm Myron Gaddison. Today we have Mr. Tommi Valentino, a pioneer in the music industry, you know, has more than 30 years of working in the music industry itself, you know, doing artist development, among other things. Now he's here in Atlanta, changing the life of up-and-coming artists each and every day. How you doing tonight, Mr. Tommi?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks. I appreciate that, man.
That's great. No problem at all. Tell everybody, you know, give them a little background on what you've been doing in the music industry. I know you've told me you work with more than 450 artists. That's an amazing feat in itself.
That's right.
You know, working and helping that many entrepreneurs get off the ground. And that's really what Legit Life, you know, looks to do, be a platform for up-and-coming artists, up-and-coming entrepreneurs, period. And he definitely exemplifies that doing the work he's been doing. And now here in Atlanta, Georgia, I know he's worked with a few artists I know personally, and I can definitely tell from where they started and to where they're at now with under his tutelage, the amazing things he's been doing with them. So I kind of give everybody a little background, and pretty much up to present day here in Atlanta.
Okay. Basically, I started out in Michigan, and I realized that there was no way that I was going to ever be anything that I wanted to be from there. And then I moved to California, which is where everybody goes to try to do something.
Yes, sir.
And I was very lucky. I had people that I could get with that would show me the actual way to go about doing things versus the way that I had been learning. You know, everybody was telling you all these different things you had to give up in order to acquire what you wanted. And once I got there to San Diego, I started working in the business. First, I was driving back and forth from San Diego to Los Angeles. And every place I went there, you know, they really were putting up the door. They wouldn't let you in. And then I found a niche. I said, well, this engineering thing seems to come easy, the technical stuff. So I said, well, okay, I'll put my music on the back burner and start working with the engineering. And then I started working in all the studios. And then they started to see this thing with me where while we were in the studio, people would be making mistakes and having errors and doing all these different things. And I would be the guy who go, okay, look, that's out of key. You need to do that again. Slide this forward, move this backward, add a syllable, take one out. You know, maybe this idea, this word, this and that and the other thing. Try to make it so that an individual will get what they're looking for. Then somebody said, well, you know, I've got this artist that I'd like to have you look at. And I said, okay, you know, what do you mean? Sit down and give this guy a few minutes of your time. Let him tell you what he wants to do. And let me tell you what I'd like to see him do. And then what I did is I closed the gap. Okay, this is what he wanted to do, and this is what this guy would like him to do. I basically found a way to where both parties were happy. Gotcha. And then this guy said, well, I've got X amount of more artists. What can you do? And I said, well, you know, how much you going to pay? You know? And they said, well, you know, I can't pay a lot. I said, well, okay, well, let me give it a shot. Let me see if I can do something. And he, at first he had them all shipping them down to San Diego, here in my house. Wake up in the morning, And I would be working with these guys and the girls and everybody coming through, and I just go through and pick out all the weaknesses that they had in each one of them. And then what I would do is I try to advance the strong parts of what they do, so that that we could gradually work on their weaknesses and it not hinder the money that the guy's putting into them to have them be out as an artist. And that way, then he could do that. He could progressively get them there, and then not have to be concerned about the fact that they have this weakness.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Then he said, you got an artist telling all his friends, and then it got to be where literally I was working so many hours every day.
Wow.
All I was doing half-hour splits for each one with a 15-minute break.
Wow.
And you figure over before I came here, which I've been here 10, so like 15 years I was doing it. That's how I got to meet and do so much for so many artists.
Yeah.
And people underestimate it. They don't realize I'm 53 years old. I try to tell them. I say, look, the wisdom comes, the experience, you have to do it. You can't experience something you got to do tomorrow, today.
Yes, sir.
You have to go through it today, and then tomorrow, hopefully whatever you have gives yourself a gift for that day.
Gotcha.
And so when I'm working with the artists and I'm trying to clear all the hurdles with them to make them, I'd say out of all of them, most of them didn't really go very far, because the foundation that you give them is not something that when money comes into the picture that they maintain.
Exactly.
And that's when I started going towards the kids, really. Start spending more time with people who had children that they were bringing up in the game, so that way the kids would actually have a little bit more working knowledge when they get up to the point where they have to actually make the decision on contracts, etc.
Yes, sir.
And so then I did all these things, and then, Warner Brothers comes to mind, Capitol Records comes to mind. I can tell you, Universal prioritized a lot of stuff. Paramount was the one that actually I basically retired from them. And so all of those companies are all at the time when music was just bumping off and they didn't know about internet. MP3s hadn't been created yet.
Yes.
So they're like, hey, we're trying to prepare for something that's going to be big where people can see my artists even if they're in Africa now.
Yes, sir.
And so with all of that happening, everybody's trying to run, I need another Backstreet Boys. I need another Britney Spears. I need another, and everything that was out, you could almost see parallel artists being developed throughout these different companies. By my standards, they bred all the talent out of those people.
Yeah.
Most of those people were already good where they were. And all I did was go, look, you have a choice. I tell them up front, you can go with what they're doing, or you can push to have them reach a medium that both of you and them can be satisfied with.
Gotcha.
Most of them chose, because of the money, to go the route which looked more like whatever the company wanted. And I'd say a lot of them didn't make it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And they probably didn't have a chance to once they gave up the ghost on what they really felt in here at the time.
Oh, yeah. That's why you definitely can't get away from your talent. You can't get away from your motivation and your ambition.
I agree.
Because if you're passionate about what you do, the money's going to come regardless. And that's what so many of our young folk forget about nowadays. If somebody throws them, not even six figures, but enough money for them to be able to go out and buy a few things and, look like they got it, they'll take that over staying true to who you are and true to your passion.
That's right.
And that's really what we want to put out there nowadays. Being in Atlanta where there's so many artists, you got to stay true to who you are.
That's right.
Stay true to yourself, because the money gonna come. Anybody who's been living long enough to tell you, just keep doing what you're doing, and the money gonna come. The accolades gonna come.
That's right.
But you got to be passionate about it. You can't expect to go to the top on a gimmick or something that somebody else is pushing you to do, because you're gonna burn out sooner rather than later.
That's right, because you can't do your work. I remember a guy I was talking to just recently. He brought a demo. It was off the chain. But see, I listen to a speaking voice. Since I do development, I see things that people do. They don't know. I can tell you that where you're speaking from. I know
Yes,
that
sir.
the power that you got is coming from right here. Because most people who have higher registered voice is up in this area. This guy, every verbal thing that he said on a song was really high pitched. I told him, I said, well, you know what? I gotta tell you, off the chain. Love the way you delivered on this. I love the way that you put this together. But I got to tell you something. If you try to do one concert holding that voice before the first song is done, you won't have a voice left.
Wow.
And he didn't understand it. Went out, did one show. I got a phone call from his manager. Tells us, do you know anybody we can send our artists to? I'm like, what do you mean? You know the gentleman you met? I'm like, yeah. Well, he has to have his voice operated on.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow, that went fast. I was like, I just talked to him about 2-3 days before this happened.
Wow.
You know, listening to the vocal coach, people tell you what he was willing to do cost him. And so many people doing it right now. They still, you hear about operations on people's voice all the time.
Exactly.
Because of the fact that they're willing to do what the people say, but they're not willing to look at, they're willing to drive their physical skill into the ground to get what someone says.
That's crazy. So you definitely need to listen to what the man said. You know, he knows what he's talking about. Tell us a little bit about I7 Records, where you plan to take that in the future.
Okay. Well, I7 Records is a creative facility, entirely designed around creativity. People try to come here and they want to see us be exactly like old school recording studios, where you basically come in and you create a song, and then you pay for the tracking of the song, and you pay for the mixing, you pay for the mastering. But our goal is basically to inspire individuals who want to do stuff with music, you know, to create. We're not trying to mix your stuff. We're not trying to master your stuff. We're really basically here to just make you get the best of what you're doing out. And our prices from $7 to only $47, and all of that includes an engineer. I don't care what anybody says, you're not going to beat those prices. And since we're all here, everyone here is artist development. Everybody, I teach them all how to go about nurturing people who are trying to do things in the music business. Don't just sit and let someone's performance be bad. Yeah. So now that's the beginning. So with that, willing to educate as well as willing to show people have those workout units where you can sit down and create your music, and then when you're ready to put a voice to it, you can work out in the back, and you don't have to have nobody there. There'll be a microphone in the back with you, and then when you get ready to step it to the next level, you have this what you see here is a suite where you can sit down, and you have an engineer sit down and help guide you to whatever it is that you're doing with the words and lyrics all together in one piece. Once it's done, then the only thing we have to do is instruct you on who to talk to and how to talk to them and what you need to have in place, so that way when you talk to them, if they like what you have, they can go with it. Definitely. Meaning copyrights and making sure that you keep everything together that you're doing, so that way wherever it's traveling, you can track it. Wow. And then our goal is to use the money that we earn to help educate kids on the computers that we use, on how to create music, what is important about creating the music in a certain way to where people can basically get into it. And we educate kids using our profit to do that. Now, eventually, we would love to do this. We would love to be a non-profit and have like maybe this suite be the one that we use for making money. Gotcha. You know, and then all the rest of the facility, I would love to make it so that just kids would come here from like 17, 18 and under, or mostly 17 and under. Yeah. And just have them come in, and I don't care how old they are. As long as they're now get too young, they need to have their parents with them. Yeah. But, you know, I don't care how old they are. Yes, I just want it to where they can come in. Want the average instructional class, when it comes in, they all sit out there amongst those chairs, and we tell everybody, yell, scream. We record their stuff, and we ask their names, and then they mic up their voice and mic up everything that they say, and only me, I already know what I'm getting ready to do with it. So, and then they go to these different computers that we have throughout the facility, and they sit down and I instruct them, actually tell them how to go about doing it. To take whatever it is, and I'll show them in here, and everybody will be in the room, and we'll show them how I can use the yelling and the screaming, the voices and the names. And then usually when we're all done, each person has a little something with their name on it that they can go back and they show their parents, hey, this is how we do it. And that's where we'd like to be. We would love to be nonprofit at some point, to where we can actually show people what we do, and then and not have the concerns of having to be here tomorrow.
That is truly amazing, especially in a city where the music industry is so saturated with so many people stepping into music in one shape, form, or fashion, whether they rap, sing, or whatever it is they do. Just being in a place so saturated, someone who's putting the money to the side, saying it's not about the money, it's about churning out great artists, helping these kids reach their dream. That is truly, you know, an amazing feat. You know, it definitely stands for what legit life is. You know, it's not about the money. Because if you have the passion, like I said earlier, the money is going to come. You know, we want to definitely thank you for your time.
I appreciate it.
You know, letting us come into this wonderful facility. You know, we thoroughly enjoyed you.
Yeah, keep coming back. Now.
Yes, sir.
You know that.